The summer night was peaceful at Camp Pine Ridge in rural Montana. Stars twinkled above the forest, and a gentle breeze rustled through the pine trees. In 12 wooden cabins, 50 children slept soundly after a day filled with swimming, hiking, and roasting marshmallows around the campfire. Olivia Carter, the head counselor, walked her final rounds. At 26, she had spent 7 summers at this camp and knew every creaking floorboard. Everything seemed normal as she checked each cabin one last time. The children were all asleep in their bunk beds, some clutching stuffed animals, others with books fallen open beside them. "All good?" asked Greg Martinez as Olivia returned to the counselor's cabin. "All good," she confirmed with a smile. "Let's hope they actually sleep in tomorrow." Neither of them noticed the faint shimmer in the air above the camp, nor the subtle distortion of the stars directly overhead. At 2:17 a.m., a soft blue light bathed the children's cabins. It lasted exactly 42 seconds. No alarms sounded. No children woke. The security cameras continued to record, but would later show only static during those crucial seconds. When the light faded, the cabins stood empty. 50 beds with rumpled sheets remained, but not a single child. Morning arrived with golden sunlight filtering through the trees. Birds sang. Squirrels chattered. Olivia's whistle cut through the usual morning sounds at 7:30 a.m., signaling breakfast time. She waited at the central meeting area, clipboard in hand. "That's weird," she said to Greg after 10 minutes. "Not a single kid is out yet." "Summer camp miracle," Greg joked. "They're actually sleeping in." But when they went to check the first cabin, the smiles dropped from their faces. "Hello," Olivia called, pushing the door open. The beds were empty, sheets and blankets disturbed as if the children had just gotten up, but there was no one inside. "Maybe they went to the lake," Greg suggested, but his voice held no conviction. They checked all 12 cabins in growing panic. 50 children, ages 8 to 12, had vanished without a trace. "Call the sheriff," Olivia said, her voice shaking. "I'll check the woods." By noon, the camp had transformed. Police cars lined the gravel road. Search dogs sniffed the ground, looking confused. Parents arrived with faces twisted in fear and anger. Sheriff Ben Willis stood in the center of it all, looking at the strange markings on the ground where the cabins had stood. The cabins themselves had been moved aside by teams of officers looking for clues. The markings formed perfect circles beneath each cabin, burned into the soil and rock. "I've never seen anything like this," he admitted to the FBI agents who had arrived an hour earlier. 2,000 miles away in Houston, Texas, Dr. Samantha Wright was jolted awake by insistent knocking. The bedside clock read 3:14 a.m. She stumbled to the door in her pajamas and found a stern-faced man in a dark suit standing on her porch. "Dr. Wright, I'm Agent Lewis, Department of Defense. We need you at NASA headquarters immediately." "What? Why?" she asked, still half asleep. 50 children disappeared from a camp in Montana 3 hours ago. We have satellite imagery you need to see." 20 minutes later, she sat in a secure room staring at thermal images taken from an orbital satellite. The pictures showed clear heat signatures of small craft that matched no known human design. "Oh my God," she whispered. "That's not all," Agent Lewis said, sliding another folder across the table. "All 50 children were participants in that study you ran last year. The one about unusual brainwave patterns." Dr. Wright's hands trembled as she opened the folder. "This isn't possible. We've already sent an emergency communication to our representatives at the Galactic Council," said a woman Dr. Wright didn't know. She wore an Air Force uniform with general stars. "This is a clear violation of the First Contact Treaty." "The Council?" Dr. Wright echoed. "You think another member species did this?" The general's face hardened. "We don't know, but someone's taken our children, and we want answers." Outside the window, the first light of dawn touched the horizon. None of them knew it yet, but across the galaxy, The Galactic Council was preparing for its darkest meeting in 1,000 years. The Galactic Council chamber was unlike anything humans had imagined before joining the interstellar community 15 years ago. The massive room curved in impossible ways, with seats for representatives of 127 different species arranged in sweeping arcs. The air shimmered with translation fields, allowing everyone to understand each other despite their vastly different biology and languages. Today, the chamber felt cold. The normal gentle hum of conversation was missing. Many seats remained empty as only emergency representatives had time to arrive for this sudden meeting. Ambassador Alan Donovan stood at the central podium, his normally neat appearance disheveled after 30 hours without sleep. His gray suit was wrinkled, and his eyes were red with exhaustion and anger. 50 children, he said, his voice echoing through the chamber. 50 innocent human children taken from their beds while they slept. I demand to know which of you broke the most sacred law of our agreement. The council leader, a tall being with 4 arms and skin that shifted colors with emotion, currently a deep, troubled purple, raised a hand for silence. Ambassador Donovan, she said, her voice gentle but firm. I speak for all council members when I say we share your horror of this crime. The abduction of younglings is forbidden by our oldest laws. No council race would dare commit such an act. Then who did? Donovan demanded, slamming his fist on the podium. Our planet has been part of this council for only 15 years. We don't have enemies out here, at least none that we know of. A ripple of discomfort passed through the chamber. Many representatives shifted in their seats. That is not entirely accurate, said a voice from the shadowed upper tier. All eyes turned to Councillor Stor of the Novanians, an ancient species known for their careful record-keeping. The Novanian's thin frame seemed almost frail as he stood, his large eyes blinking slowly. Speak, Councillor, the council leader urged. Earth is not the first, Stor said. 3 other worlds have reported similar abductions in the past 30 days. All younglings, all taken with the same method. A blue light, no alarms triggered, strange circular markings left behind. The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Ambassador Donovan gripped the podium to steady himself. Why weren't we informed? He asked. The information was classified while we investigated. The council leader explained. We feared creating panic. Show them the footage, Stor said. A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a sleek ship with sharp angles and red markings along its hull. This vessel was captured on long-range sensors near the Procyon colony 3 days before their abduction, Stor explained. We've identified it as belonging to the Krell Imperium. A collective gasp filled the room. Even Ambassador Donovan, new as humans were to galactic politics, knew that name. The Krell were denied council membership for their history of conquest and biological experimentation. They had been contained to their home systems for centuries. The Krell wouldn't dare, said a representative from a world near Krell space. They know it would mean war. Perhaps that is what they want, suggested another voice. The council leader raised all 4 hands for silence. We will not jump to conclusions, she said firmly. Ambassador Donovan, we propose an immediate joint investigation, a team with representatives from each affected species, plus our best investigators. While you investigate, our children are in danger, Donovan said, his voice breaking slightly. An older human woman stepped forward from behind him, Dr. Samantha Wright. She hadn't planned to speak, but now she moved to the podium. There's something else you should know, she said. All the human children who were taken shared a rare genetic marker. I discovered it last year during a research study on unusual brainwave patterns. These aren't random abductions. Someone chose these specific children. The council chamber fell completely silent. Is this true of the other abductions? Dr. Wright asked. Were those children special in some way too? The representatives from the other affected worlds looked at each other in shock and confusion. We don't know, one admitted. We never checked. Then I suggest we start there, Dr. Wright said firmly. Whatever is happening, the answer is in the children themselves. The council leader nodded slowly, her skin shifting to a determined blue. The investigation begins now. Back on Earth, the small town of Lakeside, Montana had become the center of a global crisis. News vans lined the streets. Military vehicles rumbled through neighborhoods. Parents of the missing children gathered in the high school gymnasium, which had been turned into a command center. Jeff and Lily Harrison sat at a folding table, surrounded by other parents. Their son Ryan was among the missing. Jeff, normally quiet and reserved, had emerged as a voice for the families. "They're telling us to trust the Galactic Council," he said to the group, his voice tight with controlled anger. "But these are our children. I'm not willing to sit and wait." Lily put her hand on his arm. "What choice do we have, Jeff? We can't exactly fly into space ourselves." Near the back of the gym, military officers huddled with government officials. General Patricia Reeves, head of Earth's Space Defense Command, spoke in hushed tones with the president's science advisor. "The U.S. Defiant is our best ship," she said. "Captain Rodriguez could have it ready in 48 hours. "And go where?" the advisor asked. "The galaxy is vast. We don't even know where to start looking." "Better than doing nothing," General Reeves insisted. "If these were your children, would you want to wait for some alien committee to decide what to do?" In a secured area of NASA's Johnson Space Center, Dr. Samantha Wright had returned from the Galactic Council with stacks of data. She compared the genetic profiles of all 50 missing children, searching for patterns beyond the rare marker she'd already identified. Her assistant, Ben Kelly, rushed into the lab, holding a tablet. "Dr. Wright, I found something when I ran the expanded search you asked for." She took the tablet, eyes widening as she scanned the results. "This can't be right," she said. "Run it again." Ben shook his head. "I already did. 3 times. That genetic marker we found in the children. It's not in the main human genome database. It only shows up in about 0.1% of the population. And it's not random," Dr. Wright said slowly, looking at the pattern emerging on her screen. "The marker appears in specific family lines, spread across different countries and ethnic groups. Almost like." "Like what?" Ben asked. "Like someone put it there," she finished. "A long time ago." The computer terminal behind them beeped. A message appeared on screen, the text glowing eerily. "Your young ones are safe. They are DEKEY. The awakening is." Dr. Wright immediately called security, but by the time they traced the message, it had vanished completely from the system. Across the country at Vandenberg Space Force Base, Lieutenant Daniel Jackson stood in a restricted hangar, staring at the sleek form of the experimental scout ship Falcon. As the youngest pilot qualified for interstellar flight, he should have been proud of his accomplishments. Instead, all he felt was desperation. His niece, Amelia, was among the missing children. While politicians talked and scientists searched for answers, Daniel had made his decision. "You know this is treason," said a voice behind him. Daniel turned to see his commanding officer, Major Susan Grant, standing in the doorway. "Then arrest me," Daniel said quietly. Major Grant walked forward, her footsteps echoing in the cavernous hangar. "The Falcon isn't even fully tested. The jump drive could fail. You could end up anywhere or nowhere." "Amelia is out there," Daniel replied. "My sister hasn't stopped crying since she disappeared. I can't just sit here." He expected Major Grant to call security. Instead, she handed him a data chip. "These are the coordinates from the last Krell ship sighting," she said. "I have a daughter too. If it were her." She didn't finish the sentence. "Thank you," Daniel said, taking the chip. "You have a 40-minute window during shift change. The security cameras will experience a technical malfunction. After that, you're on your own." As Major Grant walked away, Daniel looked back at the Falcon. He didn't know if he would find the children or even survive the journey. But humanity had spent too long trusting others to solve their problems. Sometimes you had to take matters into your own hands. In orbit above Earth, The U.S. Defiant received orders to prepare for possible combat operations. Captain Natalie Rodriguez gathered her crew on the bridge. "I won't lie to you," she said. "We don't know what we're facing, but there are 50 children counting on us. Whatever it takes, we bring them home." The massive diplomatic vessel Harmony of Stars hung in space like a silver snowflake, its complex structure reflecting starlight in dazzling patterns. Inside, representatives from 4 species gathered in the main conference room. The investigation team was finally assembled. Dr. Samantha Wright adjusted her Earth uniform nervously. She had never expected to be chosen for this mission. Beside her stood Ambassador Alan Donovan and Major Eric Blackwell, a Special Forces officer with a stern face and watchful eyes. "Welcome aboard," said the ship's captain, a tall being with crystalline skin that caught the light. "I am Captain Zoran of the Galactic Peacekeeping Force. Our mission is clear: find the abducted children and bring them home." The other aliens in the room introduced themselves. There were representatives from the 3 other affected worlds: the lizard-like Freelan, the small but fierce Tulari, and the graceful 4-armed Andari. Each had lost children to the mysterious abductions. "First order of business," Captain Zoran announced. "Dr. Wright, I believe you have findings to share." Dr. Wright stood and activated the holographic display. Images of DNA strands appeared in the air. "I've compared genetic samples from children in all 4 abduction cases," she said. "The results are remarkable. Each species shows a unique genetic marker, different DNA structures, but they all create the same thing: neural patterns that allow for telepathic potential." The room grew quiet. "Telepathy is a myth," said the Vreeland scientist, his scales shifting from green to blue with skepticism. "Not exactly," replied Dr. Wright. "The potential exists in many species, but it rarely develops naturally. These children all carry genes that could allow their brains to send and receive thoughts with proper stimulation." "Why would the Krell want telepathic children?" Ambassador Donovan asked. "We don't know it's the Krell," Captain Zoran reminded them. "We only know their ships were spotted near the abduction sites." From the back of the room, a hooded figure stepped forward. The ancient being moved slowly, leaning on a carved staff. "I am Counselor Vexra," the figure said in a whispery voice. "I represent the Archivists, the oldest race in the Council. I have studied the histories of 1,000 worlds for more cycles than any of you have been alive." All eyes turned to the newcomer. "There are legends," Vexra continued, "of beings called the Awakened Ones. They possessed great mental powers and once guarded the galaxy against a terrible threat. They vanished 50,000 years ago. Most consider it just a story, but..." The ship suddenly lurched, throwing everyone off balance. "Captain," a crew member called over the communication system, "someone has accessed our navigation systems. We're changing course." "Override it," Captain Zoran commanded. "I can't. The system isn't responding." Major Blackwell moved to a terminal, his fingers flying over the controls. "We've been hacked. They're sending us toward Krell space." Alarms blared throughout the ship. The conference room's lights shifted to red. "Can you stop it?" Dr. Wright asked, steadying herself against a table. "No," Blackwell admitted. "But I can see what they did. This isn't just a hack. Someone on board helped them." Ambassador Donovan looked around the room suspiciously. "We have a traitor." "It doesn't matter now," Captain Zoran said grimly. "We're locked on course for the Krell border. If we cross it, they'll consider it an act of war." Major Blackwell suddenly stiffened, his eyes unfocused as if seeing something far away. "Major?" Dr. Wright touched his arm. "Are you all right?" He blinked rapidly, then stared at her with shock. I heard something. A voice. A child's voice." "That's impossible," the Vreeland scientist said. "We're alone on this ship." Major Blackwell shook his head. "Not a physical voice. It was..." He hesitated, then looked at Dr. Wright. "It was in my mind." Dr. Wright's eyes widened. "The genetic marker. You have it too, don't you?" A weaker version, he admitted. It's why I was selected for this mission, though I've never experienced anything like this before. What did the voice say? Vexra asked intently. Major Blackwell's face grew pale. It said, "Help us. They're waking us up. We're scared." Captain Zoran looked at his navigation screen, where a red line showed their forced course toward Krell space. "It seems," the captain said quietly, "that someone wants us to find these children very badly." The harmony of stars drifted through the darkness, its engines running at minimum power. Ahead lay the invisible border of Krell space. Captain Zoran had ordered all weapon systems powered down to appear non-threatening. "They're here," announced the sensor officer. Large vessel approaching. On the main view screen, a massive ship appeared. Unlike the elegant Harmony, the Krell vessel was angular and threatening, with weapon ports visible along its dark hull. Red lights pulsed along its surface like a heartbeat. "They're hailing us," said the communications officer. Ambassador Donovan straightened his uniform. "I'll speak to them." "No," said Captain Zoran. "This is Council territory. I will handle this." The screen flickered, and a Krell commander appeared. The alien had gray armored skin and 4 yellow eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. Sharp teeth showed when it spoke. "Council vessel," the Krell said it in a harsh voice. "You approach Krell space. Explain." "I am Captain Zoran of the Galactic Council. Our navigation system was compromised. We had no intention of violating your territory." The Krell was silent for a moment. When it spoke again, its voice was softer. "We detected the navigation hack from your ship. We have been expecting you." This caught everyone by surprise. "Expecting us?" Captain Zoran asked carefully. "I am Commander Draktor of the Imperial Guard," the Krell said. "I request permission to come aboard your vessel with a small team. What we must discuss should not be transmitted, even on secure channels." Major Blackwell moved closer to Dr. Wright. "It could be a trap," he whispered. Dr. Wright nodded but said nothing. She was watching the Krell commander carefully, noticing something unexpected in those alien eyes. Fear. After a brief discussion, Captain Zoran agreed to the meeting. In 30 minutes, Commander Draktor and 3 other Krell stood in the Harmony's conference room, surrounded by armed guards. "We did not take your children," Draktor stated immediately. "But we know who did. Your ships were seen at every abduction site," Ambassador Donovan accused. "Stolen ships," replied Draktor. 6 of our vessels were taken from a shipyard 3 months ago. The thieves were Krell, but not acting on orders from our government. "Why should we believe you?" asked the Tulare representative. Commander Draktor removed a data crystal from his armor and placed it on the table. "Because we are hunting them too. They are a splinter cult that has existed in secret for centuries. They call themselves the Children of the Nexus." Captain Zoran inserted the crystal into a reader. Images appeared on the screen. Krell with strange markings on their armor, ancient texts, and star maps. "The cult believes in an old prophecy," Draktor explained. "They think specially gifted children from multiple species can activate an ancient defense system on a world called Nexus Prime." "Why would they want to activate an ancient defense system?" Dr. Wright asked. "To protect against something they call the Void," Draktor said grimly. "A cosmic horror that consumes civilizations." On the other side of the galaxy, Lieutenant Daniel Jackson's stolen scout ship emerged from faster-than-light travel near an uncharted star system. His instruments had detected strange energy signatures coming from this sector. "Computer, perform full scan," he ordered. The results appeared on his screen. An artificial structure orbiting the 4th planet, a space station of unknown design, and life signs. Many life signs. Daniel guided his ship closer, using an asteroid field for cover. As he approached, he could see the station was built around a much older structure, something that looked ancient and alien. "This has to be it," he whispered to himself. He activated his ship's passive sensors, scanning the station without sending out signals that might be detected. The results made his heart race. Human life signs. Children. Through the scout ship's high-powered telescope, Daniel could see into parts of the station with external windows. What he saw made him gasp. In a large chamber, several children floated in midair, surrounded by a soft blue light. Objects orbited around them, as if gravity had stopped working. The children's eyes were closed, but their faces showed concentration. They were moving things with their minds. In another chamber, children sat in circles, their hands linked. No sound could travel through space, but Daniel could see their lips moving in unison, as if chanting. "What are they doing to you?" he whispered. He was so focused on watching the children that he almost missed the alarm from his sensor array. Another ship was approaching, a vessel with the same design as the Krell ships reported at the abduction sites. Daniel powered down all systems except life support and basic sensors. His small ship drifted, appearing to be just another piece of space debris. As the Krell ship docked with the station, Daniel made his decision. He had found the children. Now he needed to get word back to Earth. The planet Nexus Prime hung in space like a forgotten jewel. Its surface was covered with strange geometric patterns visible even from orbit. These were not natural formations, but structures built by a civilization that had vanished long ago. The harmony of stars approached cautiously, now accompanied by Commander Drachter's Krell vessel. After sharing their information, the two ships had formed an uneasy alliance. "Scans show multiple energy signatures on the surface," reported the sensor officer. "And life signs. Many life signs." On the bridge, Dr. Wright studied the readouts with growing excitement. "The structures down there are incredible. They appear to be made of some kind of crystal metal alloy we've never seen before." Major Blackwell stood near the view screen, his face pale. Since their encounter with the Krell, his headaches had grown worse. Sometimes he heard whispers at the edge of his mind, children's voices calling out. "They're down there," he said quietly. "I can feel them." A shuttle took the investigation team to the surface, landing near the largest structure, a massive pyramid with a flattened top. The air was breathable but thin, the gravity slightly less than Earth normal. The eerie quiet hung over everything. Commander Drachter joined them, along with two of his warriors. The Krell's normally aggressive stance seemed subdued in this place. "My ancestors spoke of this world," he said. "They called it the Sleeping Giant." The team entered the pyramid through a doorway that opened automatically at their approach. Inside, the walls glowed with soft blue light, illuminating corridors that seemed to stretch forever. "There's writing here," Dr. Wright said, examining symbols carved into the walls. "It's similar to glyphs found on ancient ruins across the galaxy. Different worlds, separated by thousands of light years, all with the same writing system." "Can you read it?" Ambassador Donovan asked. "Parts of it," she replied. "It keeps mentioning something called the Nexus and the Guardians, and another word that translates roughly as the Void." They followed the corridors deeper into the structure. The blue light grew stronger. And then they heard it, voices chanting in perfect unison. The corridor opened into a vast chamber. In the center stood 50 robed figures, the Krell cultists. Around them, in a large circle, were children from 4 different species, including the humans from Earth. The children sat cross-legged, eyes closed, hands linked. Above them, all floated a swirling sphere of energy, pulsing with every word of the chant. The team ducked behind a row of columns, observing unseen. "What are they doing?" whispered the Tulare representative. As if in answer, one of the cultists stepped forward. He wore more elaborate robes than the others, with glowing symbols similar to those on the walls. "Brothers and sisters," he called out, "the time of awakening is upon us. For centuries, we have guarded the knowledge of what is to come. The void approaches our galaxy once again, just as it did 50,000 years ago." He gestured to the children. "These special ones carry the legacy of the ancient guardians in their very blood. Their minds can connect to the Nexus, just as their ancestors once did." Dr. Wright gasped softly. "The genetic marker," she whispered. It wasn't random. It was placed there deliberately, passed down through generations. By whom? Ambassador Donovan asked. By the civilization that built this place, she replied. They must have visited all our worlds in ancient times, seeding the marker into our genetic code as a safeguard. The cult leader continued his speech. The ancient records speak of sacrifices needed to fully activate the Nexus. Some must give their life energy so that others may fully awaken. Commander Drakter growled low. They planned to kill some of the children to power their ritual. Major Blackwell closed his eyes, concentrating. When he opened them again, there was a new determination in his face. I've made contact with one of the Earth children, he said. A boy named Kevin. He says they've been teaching the children to use their abilities, but the children are fighting back in small ways. They know the cult leader. His name is Visok, a former council scientist who discovered the ancient texts. Did he say anything else? Dr. Wright asked urgently. Major Blackwell nodded grimly. The void is real. Visok showed them sensor readings from deep space. Something is approaching the galaxy, something that consumes everything in its path. But the children don't believe sacrifice is necessary. They think there's another way. On the hidden space station, Lieutenant Jackson had made a bold decision. Using his military training, he had managed to infiltrate the facility and free 6 human children who were being kept separate from the main group. My name is Lieutenant Jackson, he told them in a whispered voice. I'm here to take you home. A small girl with serious eyes shook her head. We can't go home yet. The others need us. Something big is coming, sir. Something bad. The investigation team crouched behind the columns, watching as Visok prepared for the sacrificial ritual. Guards with energy weapons patrolled the edges of the chamber. We need a plan, Ambassador Donovan whispered. We're outnumbered and outgunned. Major Blackwell closed his eyes again, concentrating on his mental link with Kevin. The children have been practicing together. They've learned to combine their abilities. Kevin says they're stronger than the cult realizes. Dr. Wright studied the ancient technology around them. If we could create a distraction, maybe the children could act. Commander Drakter checked his weapons. My warriors can provide that distraction. Wait, Major Blackwell said suddenly. Kevin says we should wait. Something's about to happen. As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the facility. Visok looked up in surprise. Intruders at the north entrance. A cultist shouted. Human ship detected in orbit. Visok's face twisted with anger. Nothing must interfere with the ritual. It must be completed before the void arrives. Half the guards ran from the chamber toward the disturbance. In the confusion, Kevin, a 12-year-old boy with determined eyes, looked directly at Major Blackwell's hiding place. He gave a small nod. Now, Major Blackwell said, the children are ready. Commander Drakter and his warriors emerged from hiding first, firing stun weapons that dropped several cultists before they could react. Ambassador Donovan and the other representatives followed, spreading out to create multiple targets. Dr. Wright ran toward the children as Visok screamed orders to his remaining followers. Stop them. The ritual must be completed. Kevin stood up, breaking the circle. Other children followed his lead. We won't help you kill anyone, he said, his young voice surprisingly steady. Visok raised a control device. You have no choice. This facility will obey me. He pressed a button, and the ancient technology around them hummed to life. Panels in the walls slid open, revealing crystal weapons that glowed with dangerous energy. The defense systems will target anyone who interferes, Visok warned, even children. But as the weapons charged, Kevin raised his hands. The other children did the same. A shimmering barrier appeared around the group, spreading outward. What are you doing? Visok demanded. Stop this at once. We figured it out, Kevin said. We don't need to sacrifice anyone. We just need to work together. The weapons fired, but their energy beams dissipated against the children's shield. Major Blackwell felt their minds reaching out, including him in their network. Join us. Kevin's voice said in his head, "We need all the help we can get." Major Blackwell stepped forward, adding his mental strength to theirs. The shield grew stronger. Outside the facility, Lieutenant Jackson led his small group of freed children toward the main pyramid. They had traveled from the space station in a stolen shuttle, following the pull the children felt toward their friends. "There," said a girl named Zoe, pointing at the pyramid. "They're inside." Before they could reach it, the ground shook violently. The sky darkened as a massive ship appeared overhead. The U.S. Defiant. Captain Rodriguez's voice boomed from the ship's external speakers. "This is Captain Natalie Rodriguez of Earth. We are here for our children." Inside the pyramid, the standoff continued. Visok's remaining cultists were surrounded, but he still held the main controls to the facility. "You fools," he shouted. "The void is almost here. We have orbital sensors tracking it. Without the full power of the Nexus, we're all doomed." Dr. Wright moved cautiously toward one of the ancient consoles. "Let me see these sensor readings," she said. "Maybe there's another solution." Visok laughed bitterly. "There is no other solution. The ancient texts are clear. Sacrifice is needed to power the Nexus." "The texts were translated by you," Commander Dractor said, perhaps incorrectly. Kevin stepped forward again. "We can feel how this place works. It wasn't built for death. It was built to connect minds together." Suddenly, the pyramid's internal systems activated on their own. Holographic displays appeared, showing a massive dark presence at the edge of the star system. "It's here," Visok whispered, his anger replaced by fear. "The void is here." The children looked at each other, then joined hands again. This time, they invited the adults to join their circle. "We need everyone," Kevin said. The original Guardians were adults and children working together. That's the key. The central chamber of the pyramid pulsed with blue light. Adults and children stood hand in hand in a large circle. At the center, Kevin guided everyone with a calm voice that belied his 12 years. "Think of a wall," he said. "A wall of light protecting all of us, protecting the whole galaxy." Through the transparent ceiling, they could see the void approaching. A darkness deeper than space itself, swallowing stars as it came. Visok had been restrained but watched with wide eyes. "It's too late," he muttered. "We needed the sacrifice to power the defenses." Dr. Wright looked at the ancient console, now alive with symbols and readings. "No," she said firmly. "Look at these energy levels. They're rising on their own." The circle of joined minds grew stronger. Major Blackwell felt the connection deepen, not just with the human children, but with the representatives of all 4 species. Their thoughts flowed together, forming something greater than any individual. Outside, Lieutenant Jackson and his small group reached the pyramid entrance. Captain Rodriguez and a team from the U.S. Defiant met them there. "The children are inside," Jackson said quickly. "They're doing something important." Captain Rodriguez checked her scanner. "Whatever it is, it's generating enormous energy. And there's something else approaching. My crew says it's like nothing they've ever seen before." "It's what the children call the void," Jackson explained. "They say it eats worlds." Inside, the joined circle began to glow. The ancient systems of Nexus Prime responded, channels in the floor lighting up as energy flowed through the entire structure. Kevin spoke again, his voice oddly deeper, as if older somehow. "The Nexus is accepting us. It recognizes our patterns." Ambassador Donovan, his diplomatic reserve finally broken, asked the question everyone was thinking. "What exactly is the Nexus?" "It's a network," Kevin replied, eyes still closed in concentration. "It connects to similar sites on thousands of worlds. It was built to protect the galaxy." The pyramid's peak opened completely, revealing the star-filled sky and the approaching darkness. A beam of brilliant light shot upward from the circle, spreading in the upper atmosphere to form a shield of energy. Where the void touched this shield, it recoiled, unable to penetrate. "It's working," Dr. Wright whispered. They're actually doing it. The shield expanded, pushing the void back. But then Kevin stumbled, the strain showing on his young face. "It's too big," he gasped. "We can't cover the whole galaxy." Commander Draktor stepped forward, still holding his place in the circle. "We don't need to. Not yet." The ancient text spoke of many nexus points throughout the galaxy. "We just need to hold this section until the others can be activated." "Others?" Ambassador Donovan asked. "There must be children like these on many worlds," Dr. Wright realized. "The genetic marker is rare but present in all our species. If we could find them, train them." "A Guardian initiative," the Tulare representative suggested. In orbit, the U.S. Defiance sensors recorded everything. The data would be crucial for understanding what they faced. After hours that felt like days, the void retreated, moving away from the protected zone around Nexus Prime. The children gradually lowered their hands, exhausted but triumphant. Kevin looked at Visok, who sat defeated against a wall. "We didn't need to sacrifice anyone. We just needed to work together." 3 days later, the children were heading home. The Galactic Council had convened an emergency session and established the Guardian Initiative, with Earth volunteering to serve as headquarters. The genetic marker would be tested for across all Council worlds, identifying potential Guardians of all ages. On the U.S. Defiance observation deck, Kevin stood with his parents, Jeff and Lily Harrison. Through the window, Earth grew larger as they approached home. "Will you have to go back?" Lily asked, holding her son's hand tightly. Kevin nodded slowly. "Sometimes. We still have a lot to learn. But others will help now. We're not alone." Jeff put his arm around his son's shoulders. "We're proud of you, Kevin. More than you can imagine." Down in the medical bay, Dr. Wright was examining test results with Ambassador Donovan. "The children's abilities are stabilizing," she said. "With proper training, they won't burn themselves out." "And the void?" the ambassador asked. "Still out there, but retreating for now. We've bought ourselves time." In his quarters, Major Blackwell sat in meditation. Since joining the children's circle, his own latent abilities had strengthened. He could feel other minds like his across the galaxy, waking up to new possibilities. As the ship approached Earth, Kevin looked at the blue planet with new eyes. Humanity had been part of the galactic community for only 15 years. Now they would help lead it into a new era. "We were ready," he said quietly. "That's why we were chosen."